Hey, thanks for joining me today on a trip down memory lane. I'm going to walk you through how I took $8,000 and turned it into a $1.6 million real estate portfolio. In the fall of 2008, I bought my first investment property. By today's terminology, this was my first house hack. I had just turned 22 years old. My income had just begun to crest maybe $45,000 per year. So with this income and a good credit score, I was able to qualify for a mortgage. It was a buyer's market in 2008, so I was able to purchase an on-market duplex with an FHA 203K rehab loan. I was also able to get the seller to cover my closing costs, so at closing, I just had to come up with my down payment of $3,800. The rehab loan gave me $10,000 to invest back into the home, and at this time I was actually able to work the system to be able to do the work myself. So I used up that $10,000 from the loan, and then another $4,000 from my bank account to be able to get everything done that I needed and wanted to do. This duplex was a foreclosure, which had once been a really nice place. It wasn't trash now, but the prior owners had ripped out all the higher end lighting fixtures, plumbing fixtures, vanities from bathrooms, built-in kitchen appliances, and things of that nature. The copper water lines had also burst in several places, causing a decent amount of damage and even some mold. On the upside, the roof, furnaces, air conditioners, windows, concrete, the garage and the full basement were all either newer or in great shape, and that's big ticket items that you don't want to spend money on because it really is not going to change the amount of rent you receive. You're going to earn your rent based on your location, your amenities, your floor plan, and your finishes. So I get the duplex done, I move in upstairs with a roommate, and I find a tenant. I do all this before my first mortgage payment is due, which meant financially my obligation was reduced to only paying 1/2 of the utility bills that my roomie and I were sharing. This was absolutely huge. The upstairs there, where me and my roomie were, was a 3-bed, 2-bath. And sometime within the first year, my brother ended up moving into the open bedroom, which is when I started earning money to own real estate. Since I had been working 2 jobs at once on average since the age of 14, I had no debts to pay outside of my car loan. As you can imagine, this made it easy for me to start saving money. I had also built a ton of equity in the duplex by taking it from non-functional to almost impressive. So I pulled a HELOC that gave me access to $40,000 of equity. With those funds secured, I went hunting for a house to flip and found one for $32,000. I was able to privately borrow the money to get the rehab done, which is about $70,000, and I sold the place within days of having it 100% completed. After setting aside for capital gains tax and considering all my other expenses, I ended up with about a $23,000 profit, which I was able to put towards the next project, and this allowed me to go into the next one without borrowing the funds needed for rehab. The next flip wasn't nearly as profitable. I think I made $6,000 there, but it was a quick and easy job. I did another one for around $14,000 of profit and then looked for the next. Around this time, my brother said he wanted to partner with me on a flip, so I advised him to house hack the same way that I had and to target something that he and I could live in together while flipping it over the course of 1 to 2 years. I agreed to pay him $350 per month while he foot the bill for the rest of the mortgage, funded the rehab, put up the down payment. He got all that investment back before we split the profit in the end. For me, since now I had tenants in both units at the duplex, I was still making money after paying my brother $350 a month along with my share of those utilities. I also picked up another property to flip since we had an extended timeline for the live-in flip that we had going on at home. I finished the off-site flip that I was doing and then got involved with another one with my dad as a partner where he funded the deal and I was basically the project manager. That project had some bumps in the road and luckily it didn't spoil my relationship with my father, but overall just having someone to answer to about things that I was already used to handling and dealing with on my own was enough to set me back into my original decision to avoid partners on real estate investments. I think my cut was just about $7,000, which was 30% of that total profit. And at this time, my brother and I got our rehab completed. It was about 1.5 years into owning that home. I got engaged and my now wife and I moved into our own single family home. My brother stayed in the flip for about another 6 months to escape those capital gains, and I think we each walked away with about $30,000 of profit from that deal. 2012 was ending now, and my new single family residence fit perfectly into my financial plan for 3 reasons. I found one cheap enough that the mortgage on the property was covered by the rental income from my duplex. I was able to purchase it with 5% down and again got money towards closing costs from the seller. And there was also room to build instant equity without having to spend on big ticket items that do not bring back real returns. I took about $6,000 of the money that I had earned from flipping homes and invested it into this one to get it into an acceptable condition for my wife and I to be comfortable living there. Keep in mind that money that I earned flipping homes was all made possible by my initial $8,000 investment. That investment allowed me to live free of a mortgage payment and gave me the $40,000 of equity to invest. That $40,000 was continuously recycled along with the profits of each flip, and I rolled that snowball down the hill, making it bigger and bigger. If you are confused at all about that $40,000, you should watch my crash course video on real estate investment terms so that this information can sink in properly. I had a decent amount to play with at this time, so I took the house flipping profits and grabbed a nice deal on a single family home for $60,000. I put about $14,000 into that one and turned it into a rental to hold on to that brought in $1,150 per month at that time. Since I had taxes and insurance to pay, that $1,150 was not all profit. I was actually at around $13,000 a month of rental profits between the duplex and the new single family, but something was missing. The $74,000 was missing, and that was a big chunk of my flipping money. So HELOC to the rescue. I had built up equity in my primary residence again, so I went ahead with another HELOC there where I gained access to $45,000. Keep in mind, I still had the HELOC from the duplex available as well, so there was a total of $85,000 I could draw on any time I needed, and I still had some cash on hand from flips. With investment funds at the ready, I was seeking another flip. That single family rental was my 2014 purchase, and soon after I bought a flip that turned around $20,000 of profit. Upon selling that flip and paying off the HELOC that was attached to the duplex, that HELOC line got closed out by the bank as it was up for renewal, and even though I had a perfect history with them, they wanted nothing to do with me now since it was no longer my personal primary residence. So I was down to one equity line of $45,000 along with my flipping profits. Towards the end of 2014, my wife and I had been in our single family home for 2 years, so it was time to move on. We found something that we really wanted. It was a hideously decorated home that went through 8 years of general neglect. It was a perfect fit for the financial plan. There was room to build equity and over 2 acres of land. I bought this one as a cash deal by using the HELOC money from the home we are moving out of, along with the flipping profits, and for the first time, I will reference rental profits as a part of this investment. Since I'm running these numbers on the screen, you see I had to come up with roughly $30,000 from somewhere. I was paying my monthly mortgage with my rental profits, but by this time I had easily raked in about $30,000 of rental income just since moving out of the duplex, which had happened about 5 years prior. So that first deal still did provide me with every penny I needed for this purchase if I had been diligently stowing it away in a separate account. I pulled a HELOC on the new property immediately. I got access to almost all the cash I had put into the purchase since the home had appraised for about 20% more than I had just bought it for. And that was without me doing anything other than interior paint and a fresh coat of stain on the floors. So stay with me here. With the new HELOC, I paid off the other HELOC, which I had used to get the new 2-acre property, and I gave myself back some money for breathing room. I did not tap out the HELOC right away as it was unnecessary, but as I stayed there, I chipped away at it using it for flips and to fund rehab projects for that 2-acre property. Of course, this HELOC payment that I carried was always less than the total profits I was making on my rentals, so my mortgage was still being paid by my tenants. Speaking of rentals, now I had 3. I did not sell that single family that we had just moved out of. I kept it as a rental, and that began bringing in about $750 per month of profit. This put my rental profits at about $2,000 per month. Again, that's profit, which means all the debts are paid on those rentals before I end up with $2,000. I would use a portion of that $2,000 a month to pay the HELOC payments that were associated with my 2-acre property, and the rest would go into my house flipping business account. Almost right at the same time that I got the HELOC on the new 2-acre property, I snagged another property to flip, which turned over another $20,000 of profit. I used the HELOC from the last house to purchase that flip, and I used the HELOC funds from the home that I had just bought in order to finance the renovations. Our firstborn came into the world in July of 2016, and I agreed to slow down on flipping. I did not flip anything else while I owned that 2-acre property. After 2 years, we were ready to find a place to really plant roots, since now my focus had switched to finding a home to be in for 20 years rather than 2. It took us a while to find it, but we finally did. We sold the 2-acre home that we were living in as we had doubled the value of it, and the money that came out of that sale was more than enough to put 20% down on the new home and secure the next flip. That flip was a deal that fell into my lap through my wife's family that she absolutely did not want me to buy. So we had a new house, we had a newborn, and we had another one on the way. I had a lot of things to do. So this is on record as the longest flip that I have ever held, as I neglected it for basically an entire year. 2 years later, I finally completed and sold that flip for around a $25,000 profit. I paid off that $45,000 HELOC and it got closed out for the same reason as the first one did, so that went away. Now I was HELOC-less for the first time in a long time, and for the first time ever, I gave my proceeds to a financial planner because it was not likely for me to find my next investment property quickly. It's a different market. It was possible, but unlikely, as I do not put any real effort into finding off-market deals. I want off-market deals, but I do not send mailers, I don't have a team calling people, I don't have a service texting lists of property owners. I wanted to buy something to hold now in order to grow my portfolio further. It turned out to have been a pretty good time to park some money in the stock market because that has gone up, and also I found a legitimate cash investor who wanted to build a portfolio and had the funds ready to do so. I set my investment goals aside in order to avoid the conflict of interest, and over the course of about a year and a half, I built this investor a kick-ass portfolio consisting of 14 properties, which I provide details on in another video if you care to hear about it. So that explains a 1.5 year of coasting without a HELOC or an investment purchase for me. The mortgage on my new home was much bigger than anything I had had in the past, so now I was only breaking even after paying my mortgage with profits from rents. I wanted to improve on that, so in 2020 I jumped on a deal that was mostly move-in ready, double, in a hot location. I did this by putting up the 25% down payment, which I could have taken from my house flipping profits, but instead I funded it myself because I was able to do so, and I'd rather invest money from an account than to take money out of the stock market, at least for now. After that purchase in 2020, I made the decision to realize some gains in order to purchase more properties. I did this by selling both of the single-family homes that I had been holding on to. I had about $74,000 invested into the one and less than $70,000 in the other. I spent about $5,000 on each of them to get them ready for a top dollar sale, and I ended up netting about $138,000 from each. Since I only had a mortgage on one of them for about $42,000, I ended up with about $120,000 profit margin and $200,000 on hand to invest. That's pretty damn good for an $8,000 investment that's still producing monthly cash flow for me right now, today. Oh, and that duplex, the original deal that I first bought with the $8,000, is worth about $150,000 more than what I owe on it at this time. So there's $150,000 of unrealized profit, which I will tap into in due time. When selling the singles, I utilize a 1031 exchange to reinvest my profits while escaping tax liabilities. I almost did it perfectly, but a couple deals fell apart at the last minute for different reasons, and this was after my 45-day identification period, so in the end I turned those 2 single-family homes into 4 multifamily properties by splitting up the profits into 25% down payments on each purchase. Since I had 2 deals fall apart at the end of that second 1031 exchange, I ended up receiving back about $50,000 of cash, which I had to pay capital gains tax on. Lo and behold, I quickly found a property to flip with that money, which was another off-market deal that also fell into my lap. I used that $50,000 along with some more flipping money to get the deal, and that just about maxed me out with all the cash on hand that I had realized from my initial $8,000 investment. So I have been using my newly increased rental profits of about $5,000 a month to fund the rehab on that project. Those rental profits are still directly tied to that first investment of $8,000. So on the flip I have now, I've decided to hold it and use the BRRRR method, which is going to continue to extend the life of that investment, and it will allow me to keep the home I am rehabbing, make monthly profit off of it, take out all my cash plus some profit and reinvest it, which I expect to be able to turn into about another $2,000 of monthly profit. Soon enough, I will have an extended video that will give you a full explanation of the BRRRR method, and I will walk you through this exact deal in great detail. You will learn that this method, if executed properly, will give you infinite returns on your investment, and you can do it without ever leaving a penny of your own money invested into your real estate portfolio. Honestly, if I had never done any flips and just did the BRRRR method on all of them, my numbers would be way more impressive, but I think that's the beauty of real estate investing. My flipping profits are really not impressive. The speed in which I've executed those flips is definitely not impressive. I've made mistakes along the way and could have been way more aggressive on several fronts, and that is why I'm sharing this video with you today. In my opinion, this is an average person's results. Luckily, this average person is driven and has been represented by a phenomenal realtor who can recognize value and determine rehab costs with confidence. These things are key in order to secure deals, so that is where you begin. Get the right agent and get a handle on rehab costs in your area. And back to me, I have a new HELOC because I have a ton of equity in my current home, so there's another 6-figure line of credit that has zero balance and is ready for action right now, allowing me to flip homes, burr homes, or buy more cash flow. I can't contribute all of that to my original $8,000 investment because I did invest some of my own money into my current home, but I never would have made it to my current home without the financial freedoms that I have enjoyed since investing that initial $8,000. So in closing, my portfolio today consists of 6 multifamily rentals, 1 single-family rental, and my primary residence. In total, the value of these properties is about $1.6 million today. With the exception of having to cover some payments here and there during vacancies, I have never had to take money from my personal accounts to pay for any mortgage payments ever since I made that first $8,000 investment. It has brought back well over 6 figures of actual returns as of now, and within the next 15 years or so, it will have easily brought back over $1 million. This is the stuff I am passionate about, and this is why I hope that you will subscribe to my channel, because outside of obtaining financial freedom for myself and my family, my goal is to inspire you to take action and to see real estate as an investment in which you can build serious wealth from. I will continue to bring you as much value as I can with videos as often as possible. I focus on making this a simple subject so that it's easy to digest as I delve deeper into each facet of real estate, whether it pertains to investing, buying, or selling a home. Don't forget to activate the alerts as well, and please go take one step towards your goals now, take another step tomorrow, and don't stop walking.